Welcome to Webcasting Spiritism. I'm Vanessa Anceloni, and this is Luis Eduardo Almeida. We are here together to discuss and learn with you on Spiritism. In the previous Webcasting Spiritism chapters, we have learned about the definition of God according to Spiritism, the elements of the universe. We have also learned about creation, and specifically about the creation of the living beings. And tonight, we are here to go a little bit deeper on the understanding of the creation of the living beings and the principle that may animate some of them, named vital principle. Luis, how do we understand about the classification of the living beings on our planet?
Yes, we saw previously, as Vanessa mentioned, that there are three elements in the universe. Two of them are created. One is the intelligent principle, and the other is the material principle, which is a transformation of the universal cosmic fluid. But matter, as we understand it in our realm, we can divide, and also in the spiritual realm, the matter that we don't touch, we don't see, but is also matter, as we saw last week, can be divided into organic matter and inorganic matter. And tonight we are going to address this in more detail. What's the difference between organic matter and inorganic matter? First of all, it's important that we understand that we are not referring here to the chemistry definition of organic and inorganic. In chemistry, organic is defined as combinations of carbons and hydrogens in principle. But here, what we define as organic and inorganic is in fact a matter that is associated with the principle, so we call it organic matter, and matter that is not associated with the intelligent principle, we call it inorganic matter. So based on that, without any conflict with chemistry or science, we can understand that organic matter, to associate with the intelligent principle, needs another component that we call vital fluid. So in order for the intelligent principle to associate itself with matter, and therefore we call this matter organic matter, it is necessary an element that we call vital fluid. What is vital fluid? When asked by Kardec, superior spirits indicate that vital fluid is not an independent element of the universe. Vital fluid is not another element of the universe. There are only two elements, as we have addressed in previous weeks, matter and intelligent principle. So vital fluid is in fact a special modification of matter, of the material principle of the universal cosmic fluid. A special modification of this fluid forms the vital fluid, which allows for intelligent principle to connect with matter. It's also important here to understand when we talk about vital fluid that we are not using the same definition as vitalism or as vital fluid as it was understood by science in the 18th century. In the 18th century there was a scientific theory that proposed that only organic bodies were capable to generate organic molecules. It was thought that only organic bodies could synthesize these organic molecules. Well, this was then proved wrong, because it's very easy, we can do that on bench tops without any intervention of living beings to synthesize organic molecules. It was first demonstrated by the synthesis of urea. We are not referring here to the scientific theory that was proved wrong. We are referring here to a special transformation of the cosmic fluid that is necessary for the incarnation of the intelligent principle into matter. So we are not confronting or using a theory here that has been proved wrong by science. We are in fact addressing another topic, the topic of vital fluid, as we are discussing it in Spiritism. So we see that Our organic bodies, as we mentioned, defined by an association of matter with the intelligent principle, our organic bodies will contain vital fluid for this connection to be established and sustained. Well, if we need vital fluid for the connection to be established and sustained, we can also begin to ask, so how about death? How about discarnation? What happens during discarnation? Why the body now cannot sustain the spirit? Why the spirit does not remain linked to the body? Well, the vital fluid gives us the answer to this question. In quoting from the Spiritist book by Kardec, question 68, what caused the death of organic beings? And the answers, the exhaustion of bodily organs. And that's a secondary question. Might we compare death then to the cessation of movement in a machine that's out of fuel? Yes. When a machine has no fuel, it stops running. When the body falls into a fatal illness, the vital principle withdraws from it. My friend, that's a very new and revolutionary idea of death. Death is not, as we may think, is not when the spirit runs away from the body or something alike. It's in fact the body that no longer is capable of sustaining the spirit and then releases the spirit. The spirit is allowed to disengage itself from the body. So we need to see the other way around. The body cannot sustain the spirit, then the spirit moves free away from the body. A comparison, which is not completely precise, but is very illustrative, is to think it as a butterfly getting released from its cocoon. So when the cocoon gets weaker, the butterfly is released. That's not totally precise, but it's very illustrative. So it's the same thing here. When the body can no longer sustain the spirit, then the spirit moves freely away. Well, if we understand organic matter and inorganic matter, we can also begin to question what is intelligence and instinct. And to take us through this topic tonight, Vanessa, what is the definition, our comments, and Spiritist comments about intelligence and instinct for us, please?
It's actually, Luis, one of the very interesting ideas in Spiritism on that regard, because as we see on chapter 4 of the first part of the Spirit's book, as you're mentioning, the Spirits explain us that intelligence and matter are not dependent on each other. What does that mean? It means that we're going to find beings, organic beings, that may not have any intelligence that is animating that body. What does it mean? It means, as the Spirits say, and this phrase is in question 71 of the Spirit's book, organic matter can only produce intelligent activity by its union with spirit. So in Kardec's comment for this question, he defines 3 classes of beings. One, that is the inanimate being, which is composed of matter, but there is no vital principle and no intelligence animating it, which is the case of minerals. And then there is the animate beings that don't think. They have the vital fluid, they have this vitality, but they have no intelligence. And then we have the third case, which is the animated organic beings, which have the intelligence, they can think. And this is for sure the cases of the animals and the human beings. It's very interesting to meditate on the very concept that the Spirits gave us, on the fact that an organic being can only think if there is a spirit or a spiritual principle connected to that matter, which means that that being can produce intelligent activity. What does it mean? It could mean so many beautiful things that we see in this universe. As Raul Teixeira once explained in one of his talks, and usually reminds us, when men, human beings, found chocolate, one of the most interesting and delicious things that we can find on this planet. But how did the human being found out in nature? It didn't find out by itself because there is no chocolate tree. We wish we found places like the chocolate factory, but it doesn't exist. So how can we find a fruit from a tree, which is the cocoa, that produces that delicious taste of chocolate? So only the intelligence of a human being could be able to get from an organic matter and have it producing an intelligent product, like the chocolate. So this is what the spirits told us, that the only way to have an intelligent production is through the animation of a spirit on that matter. Okay, fine, we understand that. But then Kardec is more interested in understanding how specifically we get that intelligence source. Where does that come from? Where does our intelligence come from? And the spirits were very clear in saying that the intelligence comes from the universal intelligence. But then we ask another question, as Kardec did as well. Do we draw our intelligence from this universal intelligence? And the answer of the spirits is very interesting too, because they say to us that no, it's not exact comparison. We don't draw a portion of intelligence from the universal source. We actually have intelligence as an attribute of us, thinking beings, spiritual principles of the universe, spiritual intelligences. And they say that intelligence is an integral part of the person's moral individuality. This is very revolutionary too. Why? Because many people nowadays, they say that when we are intelligent, we're not in any way related to our morality. So people actually have this division on what is moral and what is intelligent. And then the spirits put it back together, meaning that intelligence is a part of our moral individuality, which is very interesting. And now we understand why some people may be intelligent, but not enough to make ethical decisions. So this is the only way we can understand why that is possible, and Spiritism explains us that. Also, we would like to understand how much of this intelligence can be related to instincts. Because as we observe an animal, for example, at the edge of an abyss, and not stepping forward, we ask ourselves, how much of that is an intelligent behavior or an instinctive behavior? And science, especially the psychological sciences, the behavioral sciences, have been asked the same question. Spiritism explains us in the following way. It explains us as in the question 73 of the Spirit's book. Instinct is a form of non-reasoning intelligence, through which all beings provide for their needs. So in a way, instinct is a form of intelligence, but without reasoning. How does that happen? It happens in the following way. Instinct and intelligence are very distinguishable. They are different. And as Emmanuel says in other books by Chico Xavier, once we practice a certain action, a certain behavior, we perform a certain task, we may make it automated in such a way that it becomes an instinct. So throughout the several internships in the different kingdoms of nature, the spiritual principle may develop what we consider instinct. For us human beings, it's very hopeful because when we think about the behavior of doing goodness to others, of being charitable, some people ask us, it's so hard to be charitable nowadays because sometimes we feel we're giving away a part of ourselves in a selfish planet, in a selfish world. But Emmanuel suggests us otherwise, because he says we should be charitable and practice charity no matter if we are making efforts to do so. Because as much as we practice it, we're going to be skilled, and one day it's going to be instinctive. And that's how pure spirits do. They do goodness, they are good to everybody, and are charitable, as we say in quotations, by instinct. Because they made it become conditioned. And this is the way we understand what the spirits explain us about instinct and intelligence. It's a matter of developing reasoning over intelligence. And this is how we become more than instincts. Kardec asked, is there a way that one day we human beings are not going to have instincts? And the spirits say no. Instincts are always going to be a part of us. But then reasoning is going to add some elements to our intelligence, because then we add the element of free will. And with free will, we are more than instincts, although we are always going to keep it with us. As they say, instincts are good because in a way they guide us to unfailing ends. And this is how we end tonight's webcasting Spiritism. So as in the Spiritism 101, we have been studying about the elements of the universe, specifically about matter and beings of the universe. Luis, what are we going to continue studying next week?
Next week we will begin studying the spirit itself, the intelligent beings of creation. We are going to study the spirit world, categories of different spirits, and many, many more topics. Thank you.